I'm going right now to collegefootballnews.com. If you need a little appetizer, right on the front page, I mean right up on the front page, collegefootballnews.com, preview 2019 Alabama. 5 things you need to know. Season prediction. Pete Fiutak wrote that article. He joins us right now. Pete Fiutak, collegefootballnews.com, the editor, the founder of collegefootballnews.com. Hey, Pete, I hope you're having a great afternoon. Welcome into the game in T-Town.
What's going on, Mr. Fowler? How are you doing today?
Man, I am doing great. Pete, I'm actually in Las Vegas, Nevada today.
Nice. What are you doing there?
My wife has got a research conference, and I decided to be a tag-along.
Yeah, why not? That's the worst places to tag along to.
Great food, man. Great food. Great food.
Great food. So where are you? So do you put down money on the Tide, for example, win totals while you're out there?
Well, I mean, that's why I called you. You give me investment advice. So, I mean, if you could convince me, then, I mean, I don't know. I haven't lost a penny yet. I've not one penny out here. Okay. That's why I called the guy, Pete Fiutak. I mean, this is not just an interview, Pete. I mean, I'm looking for investment advice.
Of course. Investment advice is just bet on everything and hope that it all works out okay. And what do you need money for anyway? So just keep betting on stuff, and then eventually it'll turn out your way. Actually, the number one – I used to work for the whole Vegas sports information, Vegas insider world, and was taught by the best about how to actually do this. And if you go to a blackjack table, eventually bet the same amount every time. Never, ever waver. Don't go up or down. Just bet the exact same amount on every hand, and eventually you'll be up. And when you're up, then you get up, and you stay up, and you go do something else. That's how you win in Vegas. But you have to have that discipline.
Okay. Now let me ask you, because I mean, I'm picking your brain here because I watch a lot of people. I'm a people watcher. Okay. Roulette, craps table, man. It looks like the house was cleaning house, man. I mean, that woman would take all those chips. She wasn't giving out too many chips. Is that just an odds way against you in roulette and craps table?
I have never understood roulette and why people do it. Craps is great, except you can either stay there for all night or you can have your lights turned out in a heartbeat. That's blackjack's a little more fun. That's why I like the sports book. That's why I like to bet on all sports and then just sit there and watch the games. A little less stressful for me.
All right, let me ask you this: how about the machines? I mean, are those?
No.
Actually... Okay,
as I told my wife when we were out there a couple of weeks ago, like, look, I would rather you lose $100 on a dumb sports bet than lose 25 cents on a slot machine just sitting. It's so mindless. That's just, there's nothing to those. That's just me though. Hey, if you have fun doing it and it's entertaining, knock it out.
Okay. All right. I'm asking. All right. So here we go. I picked up.
And if people hand out, by the way, one more tip: when people hand out flyers to you on the street, just don't take them.
Pete, I'm from Alabama. Okay, my wife and I are walking down the street, and I'd forgot that prostitution is legal in the state of Nevada.
I don't know if it is though. Actually, I'm ashamed to say I actually don't. It is in certain parts, not in others, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, what Pete's talking about is you
just
walk
be careful when you and the wife are looking around there. So just be careful.
Yeah, because these people are handing you cards like left and right, and you just don't even take them because they're advertising things that is not good. Okay, it'll get you stuff that Ajax won't wash off. Okay, I'll just leave it there. I mean, you didn't even know what you were getting into when you agreed to talk college football in Tuscaloosa today, did you, Pete?
I sprayed all fields. I'm a multifaceted radio guest. I can do it all.
All right. 5 things, according to your website. I want people to go and read it because there's no way that we can cover this in 10 minutes. But out of those 5 things that you listed, what do you think is the number one thing that people need to know about this Alabama offense?
The depth isn't quite there for Alabama. Now, it's nitpicking because there's a difference between Alabama problems and the rest of the world problems. But there isn't the one thing. Of course, there's depth. I mean, there's certain spots that are just ridiculous where, it's a joke that you're basically starting an entire NFL group of skill guys, where Tua's probably the number one pick next year. Judy might be the first wide receiver. There's at least 4 NFL starting wide receivers. You can make the case that Najee Harris and Brian Robinson are starting caliber NFL running backs. So it's just an embarrassment of talent there. The concern probably, so they're going to put up 1 million points a game again. The concern obviously becomes, all right, well, what happens when you play the superstar offenses when it really comes down to it, like they did last year? And for an Alabama team, Alabama defense, they got picked clean. I mean, you had yes, they're great quarterbacks, but you have Jake Fromm, you have Kyler Murray, and you have Trevor Lawrence, 2 probable number 1 overall draft picks, and a guy in Fromm who's probably going to be a top 10 overall pick, and they all went for over 300 yards, and none of them threw a pick, and they both destroyed a NFL-talented Crimson Tide secondary. So, first and foremost, you got to make sure that he gets back to the Alabama defensive mindset of past years. And 2, the depth in certain spots, like on the defensive line. Yeah, everyone gets to have 120 other teams that would kill for the Alabama backup, but you're going to be counting on a whole lot of true freshmen, and that's kind of dangerous.
All right, Pete. Now, I want people, like I said, there's a lot of content here. There's a lot. If you're looking for that appetizer, if you need to, if you're at that steakhouse and you want that blooming onion and you're waiting on the ribeye, because ribeye's 70 minutes away, 79 minutes to be exact, you got to go to collegefootballnews.com and read this article that includes the Alabama Crimson Tide. It's one of the reasons why we got Pete on to really break this down. But I go down to the last page. You've got a hiccup against Alabama. You got this team 11-1. If somebody's going to beat them in the regular season, who?
It's not going to come early. I mean, you have to assume that South Carolina's not going to be the problem. But you look at that back half of the schedule. I mean, put Clemson and Alabama sort of in the same boat, where you have some defensive line. I don't want to say issues in any way because they're both going to be great, but you've got to make sure that defensive line is squared away again, and all bets are off if your starting quarterback goes down. So, Bama's been able to win, obviously big with guys like Jake Coker, Blake Sims, Greg McElroy, guys who aren't necessarily number 1 overall draft pick quarterbacks, and they've been just fine. But then that means your defense has to be otherworldly. If Trevor Lawrence goes down, all bets are off on Clemson. If Tua goes down, now you have to deal with teams like Texas A&M on the road, LSU at home. I don't think Mississippi State's going to be as good, but that's a late-season road game. And, of course, Auburn on the road is dangerous. All it takes is we've talked about this over the years, the genius of Saban and now Dabo Swinney, is that, they're getting to the college football playoff, but they're getting there because they're not losing 2 games. They might lose a game. They're not losing that second one. So the danger being if you get Tua hurt for a stretch, or if you have a bad game against the Aggies, for example, or in the middle of the season, then there's no margin for error the rest of the way. And the scary part about for Bama is there are just enough landmine road games that you can lose one, and then you're going to get either Georgia or Florida most likely in the SEC championship, and then you can't lose that one either. So if you're Alabama, you're not worried about this. You've been able to be this good for this long without having to deal with any of that. But this year, the SEC is even better probably than last year. And again, all it takes is 2 losses and you're screwed up.
So, Pete, is it simple as Tua Tagovailoa stays healthy? You like this team? If something happens and you look at, what happened last year, then you're not as confident in the Crimson Tide. Is it that simple?
Well, the thing about who's stopping this offense? I mean, if Tua's healthy and everyone's in one piece, I mean, even if Tua's not healthy, then you just line up and blast away with the running game because you got those backs there. But the other concern is, okay, the depth on the line, the offensive line is going to be terrific again. But if there's a slew of injuries and it's in the middle of the season, then again, that kind of changes the nature of this thing. You give these skill guys time, and they're going to hang up 50 points a game without an issue. But as we've seen, you've seen in the past, when does Alabama lose? Either it takes a team with just some otherworldly talent with everything going its way, like the Clemson game of last year, or just an outside of their mind performance by a Deshaun Watson or a Johnny Manziel or a Chad Kelly. So they're going to be in every game. You're not going to see them get whacked, but it's going to take something really nasty to beat this team, and it's going to have to take a real clunker from Bama to lose, because they are far and away the most talented, best team in the SEC. But again, health is going to be an issue. Otherwise, whenever you're counting on true freshmen, even if you're Alabama, then things get a little bit dicey.
Pete, I want to go to Clemson here for a couple of minutes. We had someone yesterday that really had some critical things to say about Clemson. He has some questions whether they can sustain the success because now they're the hunted rather than the hunter. Do you think that flip in mentality, the loss on the defensive side of the football, is Clemson at a program right now where they can be this Alabama? Because one of the things about Alabama is so impressive, it's 5 in 10 years. 5 championships in 10 years. Yes, Clemson's been able to win 2 out of 3, but they've also just lost a huge group of talent to the National Football League. Can Clemson stay there? Can they be that team that could survive with that bullseye on the back of their shoulder pads?
I'm done second-guessing that. If you remember a few years back, they lost an entire defensive front, and it's like, okay, now they're going to, after the year after they just barely lost to Bama in Glendale. It's like, okay, well, they got to replace their entire defensive front. So they're going to take a little step back because they're going to have one of those games where they lose to Syracuse or struggle against a Pitt or someone like that. And then they came back and won the national title. They've made wholesale changes on the defensive front, and they absolutely just reload. The recruiting classes have been amazing. So Bama and Clemson are at a whole other level when it comes to recruiting. So Georgia right in there right now, Ohio State as well, obviously. But, of course, they can keep doing this because the talent level is just so high. And it helps. Yeah, it's going to be the narrative that kind of kicks in where everyone's going to be like, okay, yeah, obviously this is a great team, an amazing program, but they're not playing in the SEC West. They're not playing in the Big Ten East. The ACC is good, but it's not like going through the meat grinder. It's like playing in the 2 best divisions of college football, arguably 2 of the best 3 if you're throwing the SEC East in there. And they're going to play Texas A&M. They get the Aggies at home, and then they got to avoid that trap because there's a lot of dangerous teams in the ACC. There aren't any great teams in the ACC. So they're good, and they can absolutely sustain. But, as it's hard to keep that going year after year after year. But when you have more talent than everyone else, it kind of makes it a little bit easier. Vegas
has got the win total 11. Would you go over or under?
If on Bama?
No, Clemson.
How do you go? Oh, I'm under the belief that Clemson's going to take a step back. It's a wrong theory because, again, just like Bama, if you lose Trevor Lawrence and you got Chase Bryce under center, yeah, talent-wise, you can still beat just about everybody. But then things become a little more dangerous. So I guess if I would have to do this, if I had to pick one, I would go over just because it's the smarter play. But it's been one of my wacky off-season calls I'm trying to make happen in my mind because I think I kind of want to see a little bit of new blood out there. But between Alabama and Clemson, my call is that one of the 2 isn't even going to make the college football playoff. And out of those 2, I think it would be Clemson more than Alabama.
Ooh, Clemson taking some hits in the last couple of days. Yesterday and today, Pete Fiutak, you can find him on the Twitter account. If you're a Clemson guy, you can hammer him at Pete Fiutak on the Twitter account. Hey, let's play this kind of quick. Let's go through some over-unders here. LSU at 9. Over-under, Pete Fiutak.
It's right about at it. I mean, look at that schedule they got to face. And that's the problem for all these teams. Is where the 50-50 games and can they come through? Certainly wouldn't go under. So I guess I would have to go over on that, even though I'd be really scared because especially when you've got that division, and that means they're going to have to beat Auburn. You're going to have to at least hang with Texas A&M and Alabama, and then there's no margin for error the rest of the way. So I would rather go over than under on that.
All right, Auburn's at 8. One book had them at 7.5. We'll play it at 8. 8 over under.
Oh, if you get 7.5, jump all over the over on that. This is a better team. I mean, it just than last year. Last year's team was weird. I know they lose Garrett Stidham, but they just seem like that defense is going to be strong. The lines are going to be good enough. It just depends. Do you like them early on in the season? in some of those tougher games. I would go over on that.
All right, and I want to go through a couple of these other ones as well. Everybody's kind of believing in the Florida Gators. They got them at 9.
Do you think they can beat Georgia? Because there's your SEC East championship, and absolutely the talent's there to do it. Again, look at the schedule they got to do. If you think that they can beat Miami in the opener, which I do think they're going to do, and you look across the rest of that landscape they got to do, they got to deal with LSU. That's a dangerous game, obviously, and you got to assume that Florida State's not going to be quite back yet. That they're not going to hiccup against Kentucky again or misfire against the Missouri. So it's asking for a lot, but this team is better than last year's version. So long-winded way of saying, yeah, I'm kind of on. Talent-wise, absolutely, I'd probably go over on this because they could actually beat Georgia this year.
All right, Notre Dame is a team that's getting a lot of love this time of the year, and I think I just lost that total. I just had it right here. 9.5. 9.5 for the Irish.
I would go under. It's lesser team. They still have talent. They lost the stars. The infrastructure is still good. And last year it took kind of a perfect storm for them to make everything work. Remember, if it was so easy, everyone would do it. But remember last year, USC sucked. Virginia Tech was down. They had a whole bunch of games against teams that had big names and just weren't all that great. That changes this year. They got to deal with Michigan on the road. They got to deal with a better USC team. And you look at that schedule, there are absolutely 3 losses in there somewhere, so I would go under.
A couple of more. Pete, Texas A&M's at 8. I know it's something to do with their schedule. What do you think about 8 for Texas A&M College Station guys?
Yeah, I because I like them as a team, I would stay away, but I would go over. But then you're asking, you got to beat Clemson on the road, and or you got to beat Georgia, and or you got to beat Alabama, and or you can't misfire against anybody else along the way, like an LSU or an Auburn. That is such a brutal skill. I mean, you're playing arguably the 3 best teams in college football this season, and so you have to assume that there's at least 2 losses there. I would go over because I think they're going to win at least one of those big 3 games, and they'll lose a couple more. But boy, that's you look at that schedule, it's scary, very scary. But I would go over just because I think this Aggie team is really rising up.
Pete, I could go here for another hour. I know you got other radio obligations, man. I appreciate you because I could literally throw you like I know you the way that you know college football. I could throw you Michigan State. You could break it down, okay? I could throw Nebraska at 8, and you would break it down.
What is Michigan State at, by the way?
7.5.
Over. You want to make some money, go over because you look at that team, that defense gets everyone back, and it was arguably the best defense in college football last year in a lot of ways, and that offense is not going to be that miserable again.
Yeah, the Georgia line's another one that's I think it's a little high for the Dogs at 11.
I would go under.
I would too.
They could lose to Florida. They could lose to if you're choosing over. I think 11's probably about right. They will misfire a game, but you're not going to go 12. So if it's an either or, you got to go under on the Bulldogs there.
Well, and they're not buying the Texas hype out here. They got about 9.5.
Yeah, nor should they, because the Big 12 is still nasty, and this is kind of a rebuilding team. So, I would. 9's about right for Texas. They could lose a couple. They're going to lose to LSU early on this year, and they'll probably lose to Oklahoma, or they'll drop a game or 2. So, I'd probably go under on the Longhorns.
CollegeFootballNews.com, 5 things that you should know about the University of Alabama. We only discussed 2 of those. Go to CollegeFootballNews.com, CollegeFootballNews.com, CollegeFootballNews.com. Find Pete Fiutak on the Twitter account. Pete, I appreciate the extra time.
You guys going to Thunder from Down Under tonight, right?
Thunder from what is it?
Thunder from Down Under, the Luxor.
I don't know what it is. What is it?
Oh yeah. How can you not? There's ads everywhere with men with their shirts off and things like that.
Oh no! Come on, Pete. No. We're going to the Jimmy Kimmel Comedy Club is where we're going tonight.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Now we did do something last night. at the Cosmopolitan, we did the opium show. Now that got a little, we didn't really know what we were getting into, but that got a little adult friendly. Let me just say.
Yes, that's what Vegas is. That's why it's a wonderful place.
But what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
I guess,
right?
unless you win, then you bring it home with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. Pete, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, man. You're always a lot of fun to talk to. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, right.
Pete Fiutak, collegefootballnews.com. Collegefootballnews.com. I might tell you guys. Hey, it was an awesome show. It was an incredible show. I'll tell you more about it a little bit later. But it's I'm making hand motions. Can you guys see that? Okay, good. I mean, it was wow. I'll leave it at that.